All right, so basically, since all of this AI stuff has started coming out, we're seeing opportunities for people that didn't exist before. So, for example, yesterday I used Gen AI to make a 2-minute trailer of a movie idea that I had that I elaborated on with another LLM iteratively, and then the LLM even was generating prompts for the video clips for a trailer. And same, can be generating things for, a storyboard or stuff like that. In extremely short order, very fast. This was not possible a year ago, to do something of the level of quality that I was able to make yesterday. And it's the same story in software. Last week I made a 3D game, prototype, in like 4 hours. That probably would have taken, I don't know, at least 4 weeks in the old paradigm, if not more. So the speed at which we can be creative has increased like 100x basically. Or just unlock things that were 100% not possible, like the video stuff. I mean, what it would have cost for me to do like the 3D renderings on that video, because there's like a lot of stuff that looked like CGI, plus like to get cameras and actors who looked that good in those scenes to do all of those things, like that's millions of dollars right there, right? So like that's cool. That's really cool, man. So I think that creatives can have a lot of fun with this stuff if they get over, any sort of pretentiousness or resistance around the idea of using AI in their art or in their creative projects. Because obviously there's a bunch of that's happened ever since sort of the image generators started getting popular. Yeah, in case you're wondering what that noise is, there's a little waterfall there. Anyways, I didn't know that the mic was going to pick it up quite so loud until I listened to the video yesterday. Anyways, so yeah, we got creative people leveraging AI. We have some creative people resisting AI, and I think it's pretty clear what's going to happen. Some of the people who resist AI for their creative projects, they will find a market with customers who resist AI, and they highly value the 100% human thing. I don't know how big that niche will be. It won't be the majority, but it'll exist for sure. And you'll see that in pockets of society still, like, AI resistant people will sort of like, sniff each other out, I guess. But then the other chunk of people, you're gonna have also some other groups. You're gonna have people you have creative types who are leveraging the AI to do cool stuff, and then you're gonna have people who never were quote unquote creative, right? But they're still able to take advantage of this stuff, because even if they might not be creative, they might still have an idea or two every now and then. Doesn't matter if they're good or not, right? But they'll be able to execute on those ideas in a way that was previously impossible, and that's pretty wild. So I think it's an exciting time to be a creator or a creative person. Whether that is, visual art, or coding or writing, or anything that sort of like needs those things. There's like music ones too, sound generators, voice generators, like for audio. There's all kinds of stuff, right? So yeah, I think that people can use all of these tools for their creative projects. They can create some awesome stuff, right? But again, it's really this mentality still. So I mean, let's go back to this sort of like the AI resistant crowd, I guess, right? And try to pick apart why they're being like that. And I think obviously there's an element of their ego being threatened. you know. They'll try to justify it. It's like, oh, it can't do this, or oh, it messes up fingers, or oh, it made a mistake in the code, or oh, it like said this like one thing that like wasn't factually correct, or blah blah blah, right? And all of that stuff is just like protection of their ego, more or less. Still just trying to desperately defend that against a threat, right? You can see AI as a threat, or you can see it as an opportunity. I think it's really just a matter of perspective there. Personally, obviously, I see it as an enormous opportunity, but some people see it as a threat. Okay, hold on a second. All right. Yeah, in case you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm just stopping at the little temple here really quick. Try to do that every morning on my walk. Yeah, it's a nice little spot here. Still, this lake sort of that I'm walking around here. It's because it's still cloudy again today because it's been raining. It's not quite as good looking as when it's sunny, but I'll take it. And these guys asking like why I'm wearing sunglasses when it's cloudy. So I don't want you to see my eyes, dude. Pretty fucking clear, isn't it? Anyway, so what can we make with all this AI stuff, in the creative realm? Beyond the stuff that you maybe already know or already can think of. So I think there's enormous potentials for the local AI stuff to help you do things that are highly, highly personal. So I used a local LLM that's my sort of baseline assistant. It knows like lots and lots of details about me in every call that I make to it, right? And it was helping me to flesh out the screenplay ideas, right? And the interesting thing about when I interact with that assistant that already in its context window has all this information about me, and not just information about me, it's also like written in my writing style because I wrote it manually, and obviously its instructions are to kind of like speak, think, and behave in a manner similar to myself, right? I wouldn't go so far. It's not a clone. It's still personified into someone separate, but just basically from all of the context that I put into there, it does end up sounding a bit like things that I would say, especially when it's writing a document, not dialogue. And the other thing is it takes in all of like your experience and interests, right? So it put in ideas into the screenplay that I hadn't thought of, but like fit really well with the things that I would have maybe eventually gotten to still, right? Or it just, it fits really well with the topics that I'm interested in. And yeah, it was interesting to see that it was able to inject that into there. So yeah, I mean, like, it's to the point where the stuff's not just helping you create the stuff, it's also helping you create the ideas, or at least elaborate on the ideas, maybe, still, because you could, make the AI be creative in the sense where you are giving it a task to generate ideas and then analyze the ideas, prioritize the ideas, or rank order the ideas, and then like when I'm trying to sort of get the AI models to be creative, what I'll do is I'll use the same sort of like thinking frameworks and program that in. So for example, like convergent and divergent thinking, right? So this is sort of like a science-based sort of extrapolation of creativity And if you instruct the LLM to go through its, list of ideas and then use convergent and divergent thinking to sort of elaborate on those or expand on those or create new ideas from those, then that's in a sense emulating a similar process that the human mind uses for creativity as well. So to say that the AIs are not creative is false still. The AIs can be very creative if you tell them to, right? Of course, the issue is most people maybe haven't thought of these ideas yet and have not, it's like you go to Baskin Robbins and you're like, all you can see is chocolate and vanilla. You didn't realize there's like 29 other flavors over there, right? So yeah, a lot of people eating like chocolate and vanilla AI right now when there's like Baskin Robbins 31K, there's like 31,000 more flavors, really is like infinite if you think about it. So yeah, other than then, I guess on the visual stuff is pretty wild. So the quality of the video that's coming out is amazing, I have to say. So like, I know we are about I guess it's a year in from that first Sora demo, but now it's gotten to the point where they're like on a second or third version of the models, and they've gotten it out into the public sphere, right? So you have people that are using them. Obviously, they're still really concerned with what people are going to be generating with it, in the sense that, like there's definitely potential for shenanigans with this stuff still, right? Like, I mean, I'm not even going to give you ideas because there's so many of them, and they're like this stuff that'll get you in trouble too, right? So I don't want to get you in trouble, but basically, yeah, there's still a lot of stuff that you could do. And then the same thing with the local LLMs too, right? I mean, you can get like models that are de-aligned, basically. Like, so when they go through the training process of these models, right, they go through the data set and they clean it, right? And that's not just cleaning data in the traditional sense, like to make it well formatted and blah blah blah, right? But like they looking for anything that could, teach it like malicious stuff as best they can, because these are big data sets, right? And then when they're doing sort of the fine tuning, so this is like your RLHF layer, etc., right? That's where the fun really happens, is, so that's when they really sort of program the model in a sense to behave in a certain way. Now, if you've heard of something like a prompt injection, and this is sort of a way to bypass sort of those restrictions, but it can be a clunky process. It's not consistent, and the models are getting better and better at staying within the boundaries of like what they're supposed to do, within their own guidelines. And obviously, if you're using a model through a third party, they can have additional software layers as protection against shenanigans, right? But on the local models, the open source ones, so basically people will run this through various other fine-tuning methods that basically do the process in reverse, where they take they give it training data that like de-aligns it, basically, or like removes the guidelines, so that at the end of that process, when you actually use the model normally, you can tell it to do damn well near anything, and it'll do it with a smile on its face pretty fucking quick. So yeah, like, you definitely want to know about these, because these also can give you a bit of a different perspective, I guess, right? So I've been switching back and forth on my local model between the Gemma 3 models, the Qwen 3 models, and a Qwen 3 sort of like a D-aligned model still. Or sorry, not Qwen, the Gemma 3 D-aligned model. So on the D-aligned model versus the regular model, I've found that the D-aligned model is definitely more creative, and a bit more sort of willing to explore different areas, suggests different things. Even though it's been given the exact same prompt and like the base model is the exact same, that layer of sort of de-alignment has made it more interesting. Without getting into anything that is, off, out of bounds. You know what I mean? There's no shenanigans, but it is legitimately like, it's giving me more creative and more interesting responses to my questions, or in the chat, right? So worth looking into, especially like, again, going back to creative projects. Like, let's say you want to make like a screenplay for a movie, or you're working on a book or a comic book, or something like that. Something where you've got, you're trying to design a plot and dialogue and things like that. It's pretty cool, man. It goes in different places, right? Whereas the vanilla models, they're not gonna go there. They're like, nah, we're gonna do Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers, right? But the other model is like, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, well, let's do some Game of Thrones. Let's do some Black Mirror, right? Let's go there. So that's cool. I like that. And I think that's a good use of these models. So yeah, I mean, like there's just lots and lots of tools out there, lots of stuff that you can do with these things. So my recommendation, obviously, is if you are AI resistant, or somebody who is AI resistant, who is a creative person, help them to understand that there's no need to feel threatened, right? The AI is not here to replace you in this sense, right? The AI is here to enhance you still, right? To give speed to your ideas. Now, I suppose we could say that there is a segment of individuals who, let's say they are AI resistant, and they may work in a creative field, but they might not actually be that creative, right? And this could be anyone from, there are lots of coders who are not particularly creative, right? They will do your idea, but they don't have any ideas of themselves, right? And this goes also like in like visual arts, like you have graphic designers or graphic artists who they might not have many ideas, and they might have just sort of learned to operate the tools to build some other people's ideas. And I think that's probably the people who are feeling it the most, or who are feeling the most threatened, right? Because they don't necessarily have that innate creative spark that comes naturally to them, or it's suppressed or whatever, right? Like that just hasn't been part of their MO, but they've learned to use the tools, and that's how they've made a living, running these tools, right? And now with the AI stuff, they definitely could feel replaced, because people, and it's still an invalid thought, because people will still need people to operate the tools, right? So it's just like learning a new tool. It's learning a different skill set. But there's resistance, right? Like for coders, I've seen like they don't want to adopt the AI coding tools because they think like, oh, it's not good enough, or oh, it's making a mistake, or and this is another one that runs pretty common, is where they'll say they say oh yeah, they don't want to chat to a fucking chatbot, they want to write code, right? But the reality is, at this point, at this stage of the game, you have to learn how to communicate with AI models, right? If you have to get over that hump, you gotta, because that whole paradigm of like just using the tools the old way, like I said, you might get a niche, that AI resistant niche of but that's limited. That's very limiting your scope, in terms of, like, you know, if it's career stuff that you're concerned about, you'd be limiting your scope there. But then you're also limiting the scope of your creativity, right? And you're limiting the speed of it by an enormous factor. So I highly recommend that if you have any AI resistance, that you get around that and embrace the tools, and look at it as a way to enhance your creativity, and not threaten your ego. All right, that's all for today.